Imagine you're standing in the middle of a crowded street, holding out your hand, asking for something you deeply need. People walk by without even looking at you. Some give you a glance of pity, others don't even notice you at all. You wait, hoping, feeling smaller with every passing second. It hurts, doesn't it? It feels like your worth depends on someone else's mercy. Now think about your own life. How often have you silently begged for love, for attention, for respect, for opportunities? How many times have you waited for someone to notice your efforts, to acknowledge your presence, to appreciate your value? How often do we exhaust ourselves hoping someone else will fill the gaps we feel inside? Have you ever stayed in a friendship or relationship just because you were afraid to be alone? Have you kept quiet at work, waiting for recognition that never came? Or have you found yourself doing more and more just to please others, hoping they would finally see your worth? Let me give you a simple example. Imagine a beautiful tree in the middle of a dry field. It doesn't move. It doesn't beg the rain to fall. It simply stands tall, rooted in its strength, trusting that when the time is right, rain will come. And even if it doesn't, the tree still stands proud. Now, imagine if that tree could run around chasing clouds, desperately asking them to pour water. It would lose its dignity, its place, and eventually its life. Welcome to Wisdom Writings. If you find even a small spark of truth in this message, please stay with us through the video. There's so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% actually subscribe. If you appreciate thoughtful content that touches your heart and mind, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. It encourages us to keep bringing powerful messages to you. And please, drop down your thoughts in the comments. We love to hear your reflections. In today's video, we will dive deep into why begging, not just for money, but for love, attention, respect, or opportunities, slowly eats away your soul. We will explore how Buddhist wisdom teaches us to find everything we seek within ourselves. Buddhism tells us that desire and attachment create suffering. When we beg, we tie ourselves to expectations, and those expectations chain our happiness to others' actions. True freedom comes when you stop seeking validation outside yourself. When you realize your value is not decided by others, you step into a power that no one can take away from you. Today, you will learn how to stand strong like that tree, unshaken by storms, untouched by droughts, firm in your own being. Stay till the end, because what you hear today could be the beginning of a new journey, one where you stop begging, start living, and truly find peace. Understanding desire and attachment through the lens of Buddhism. Sit with me for a while. Listen carefully, for what I am about to tell you is not for books. It is from the silent corners of life where truth whispers. In this world, most suffering begins not because the world is cruel, but because the mind is restless. The mind wants. It wants more. It wants better. It wants faster. It wants louder. The mind is like a small child, pulling at the sleeve of life, crying, begging, demanding things it does not even understand. In Buddhism, we learn something very simple. Desire is the root of suffering. It is not because you do not have that you suffer. It is because you want so badly to have. The wanting burns inside like a slow fire. You think if you get the thing you want, you will be free. But the moment you get it, another desire is born, then another, then another. It never stops. It never rests. When you beg, whether it is for love, attention, money, approval, you are not just asking for something outside. You are also admitting that you are incomplete inside. You are telling the world, I am not enough without this. And the world, hearing this, often turns away because weakness invites pity, not respect. Buddha taught us that the way out is very different from what most people think. It is not to run harder. It is not to fight louder. It is not to make yourself more acceptable to others. It is simply to stop. Stop chasing. Stop craving. Stop begging. Sit quietly. Breathe. Look at yourself without judgment. Feel the hunger inside you for attention, love, recognition. And now, instead of trying to fill it, simply notice it. See like you would see clouds moving across the sky. It is there. You do not need to deny it, but you do not need to serve it either. Imagine you're standing at the edge of a river. The water rushes by, full of fallen leaves, broken branches, bits of life. If you jump into the river and try to catch the leaves, you will be dragged along, tired and desperate. But if you sit quietly on the bank and watch, you will see that everything passes. Everything. Desire, too, passes if you do not feed it. When you beg for something, you're like a man jumping into the river, grabbing for leaves. It is not the river's fault that you drown. It is the desire that pulls you under. The world is full of people running after things. Very few have the courage to sit down, to let go. But those who do, they become powerful without needing to control anyone. They become rich without needing to own anything. They become loved without needing to ask for it. You must understand, there is a big difference between needing something and wanting something. Needing is of the body, air, water, food, shelter. These are simple. Wanting is of the mind, status, admiration, fame, approval. These are endless. No matter how much you collect, if you are trapped in wanting, you will always feel poor. One who has tamed their desires has already conquered the world. The Buddha left behind a palace, great wealth, a loving family. Not because he hated them, not because he was ungrateful, but because he saw the trap. He realized that what he was searching for could not be found in gold, in praise, or in pleasures. It could only be found in freedom, freedom from the endless wanting. Many people misunderstand this teaching. They think Buddhism says, give up everything. No, Buddhism says, give up your attachment to everything. You can live a house. You can have a family. You can do your work. But do not let your soul cling to them. Love them, but do not beg from them. Serve them, but do not chain your happiness to them. Begging is not just falling to your knees. Begging is when you depend on someone else for your worth. Begging is when your smile waits for someone's approval. Begging is when your peace waits for someone's presence. When you realize this, you begin to see a beautiful thing. You already have everything you need inside you. You were born complete. The sun shines on you without asking for anything back. The earth gives you food without needing your praise. Life itself is generous. It is only the mind, tangled in desire, that makes you feel small. Imagine a bird flying across the sky. It does not ask the sky to be blue. It does not demand the winds to be gentle. It simply flies. It trusts that the sky will carry it. And if storms come, it does not curse the sky. It simply adjusts its wings. You too can live this way. Do not beg for love. Become love. Do not beg for respect. Respect yourself so deeply that others have no choice but to respect you. 2. Do not beg for opportunities. Create them by becoming so strong, so capable, that opportunity itself comes looking for you. When you stop begging, an amazing thing happens. You start to attract. People notice those who stand tall in silence. People trust those who do not need a shout. People follow those who are not desperate for followers. The way of the Buddha is not the way of weakness. It is the way of silent, unshakable power. Power over yourself. Power over your own cravings. Power over your own mind. In the end, you will realize something very precious. Everything you are begging for, love, respect, happiness, was already sitting quietly inside you, waiting for you to come home to it. You were never meant to be a beggar. You were meant to be a king, a queen, ruling the kingdom of your own heart. So, sit with yourself today. Listen deeply. You will hear the whisper of your own soul, telling you gently, you are enough. You always were. This is the way of wisdom. This is the way of true freedom. And it begins when you decide, once and for all, that you will never beg again. Self-reliance and inner fulfillment. The Buddhist path to true power. In Buddhism, there is a simple yet profound teaching. True power comes from within. For most of our lives, we look outside ourselves for strength, happiness, and validation. We beg for attention, for praise, for love, hoping that someone else will fill the emptiness we feel. But the truth is, no one can give us what we are not willing to give ourselves. The power we seek is already inside us, hidden under layers of attachment, fear, and doubt. Think for a moment. How often have you felt powerless when someone didn't notice your effort? How often have you felt small when your accomplishments went unrecognized? We all desire to be acknowledged, to be seen. And yet, this desire, this craving for external validation, is what chains us to an endless cycle of longing. When we constantly seek approval from others, we place our happiness in their hands. And this is where the problem begins. The Buddhist teachings tell us that attachment is the root of suffering. When we attach ourselves to expectations, to outcomes, or to other people's opinions, we set ourselves up for disappointment. Life is constantly changing. People change, circumstances change, and what we thought we could rely on can suddenly slip away. But the one thing that doesn't change is the peace within us. The moment we let go of our attachment to the external world is the moment we begin to experience true freedom. But this is not something that happens overnight. It takes practice, patience, and, above all, self-awareness. Buddhists practice mindfulness to help them stay present, to observe their thoughts and desires without getting caught up in them. When we practice mindfulness, we start to realize how often we give away our power to things and people outside ourselves. We see how we beg for validation, approval, and affection, believing that these things are what define our worth. True self-reliance begins when we stop looking for validation from others. When you no longer seek to prove yourself to anyone, you step into your own power. Imagine a rock lying on the ground. It doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. It simply exists, solid and unmovable. It doesn't beg the wind to blow or the sun to shine. It remains unwavering in its presence. That is the essence of self-reliance. Self-reliance doesn't mean isolation. It doesn't mean that you must do everything alone. It simply means that you stop depending on others for your sense of worth and happiness. When you rely on yourself, you begin to trust your own wisdom, your own decisions, and your own path. You start to understand that you're not defined by what others think of you, but by the peace you create within yourself. Buddha himself once said, "You, yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection." This teaching is at the core of self-reliance. When we begin to love ourselves, not in an arrogant or selfish way, but in a deep, respectful way, we no longer feel the need to beg others for love or approval. We know that we are worthy of happiness, simply because we exist. We live in a world where we are constantly told that we need more friends, more attention, more recognition, more love. Social media, advertisements, and even the people around us often reinforce this idea. But the truth is, we already have everything we need to be content. The moment we stop seeking fulfillment outside ourselves is the moment we begin to experience true peace. This doesn't mean that you should abandon relationships or the desire to connect with others. On the contrary, when you are self-reliant, your relationships become richer and more meaningful. When you no longer need others to validate you, you can give without expecting anything in return. You can love without fear. You can help without holding on to expectations. There's a beautiful analogy in Buddhism that compares the mind to a lake. When a lake is disturbed by wind, the water becomes choppy, and it is difficult to see clearly. But when the wind stops, the water becomes still, and the lake reflects everything perfectly. Our minds are like this lake. When we are constantly disturbed by the winds of desire, fear, and attachment, we cannot see clearly. But when we learn to let go of these disturbances, we begin to experience the clarity that comes from true inner peace. Self-reliance is not about being harsh or cold towards others. It's about knowing your own worth and never allowing others to define it. It's about standing firm in your own truth, even when the world around you is shifting. It's about trusting that you have everything you need to face life's challenges, that you are enough just as you are. True power, in the Buddhist sense, comes from living in harmony with yourself. When you stop begging for things from others, be it love, approval, or respect, you begin to live a life of strength and dignity. You realize that you are the creator of your own happiness and that no one else can give it to you. This realization is empowering. It is freedom. Now, think about your life. How many times have you felt that something was missing? How many times have you felt unfulfilled, thinking that the right person or the right opportunity would fill that void? What if the missing piece was not something you could get from others, but something that you could find within yourself? What if the true source of your happiness was already there, waiting for you to discover it? The more you begin to practice self-reliance, the more you will realize that your external circumstances no longer have the power to dictate your inner peace. You will become like the tree standing strong in the field. You will no longer beg for the rain to come, but you will learn to thrive in whatever conditions you are given. It takes courage to stop begging and to stand firm in your own strength. But it is the only way to truly live. When you rely on yourself, when you trust your own path, you open the door to a life filled with freedom, peace, and true power. The Buddhist path teaches us that we are not here to beg, but to live fully with awareness and grace, trusting that everything we need is already within us. Letting go. How detachment brings respect and freedom. You may have heard the term letting go many times, but have you truly understood its meaning? It's not about forgetting, ignoring, or even pushing things away. It's about releasing the need to hold on to things that do not serve you, and realizing that your true peace lies in your ability to detach from the things, people, and situations that you've clung to out of fear or desperation. Picture this for a moment. You're holding on to a balloon, tightly gripping it with both hands. The balloon represents all the desires, attachments, and expectations you carry. You feel that if you let go, the balloon might float away and leave you empty. But the truth is, as long as you hold it, your hands are tied. You can't embrace anything else because your hands are already full. You're living in a constant state of tension, always afraid of what might happen if you release your grip. But here's the truth. When you let go of that balloon, you free yourself. You can breathe deeply, feel light, and open your hands to all the new experiences that life has to offer. In Buddhism, detachment is not about renouncing the world. It's not about cutting yourself off from people or things. It's about understanding that you're not your desires, and you're not the things you cling to. You are more than that. You are the awareness beneath it all, the stillness that allows everything else to move around you. When you let go of the need to possess, control, or depend on external validation, you discover the freedom to live fully, just as you are, in the present moment. Think about a time when you've been desperate for someone's approval. Maybe it was a friend, a family member, or even a colleague. You worked harder, gave more, hoped for their recognition. You begged without even realizing it. You kept giving, expecting something in return. You wanted their acknowledgement because, deep down, you believed that without it, you would be incomplete. But what happened? Did you feel whole after getting their approval? Did it bring you lasting peace? Likely not, because you're not meant to rely on someone else's opinion to define your worth. In Buddhism, this is a key teaching. Craving for approval, affection, or material rewards is the root of suffering. When you attach yourself to these desires, you constantly set yourself up for disappointment. People will let you down. Circumstances will change. The world is unpredictable, and that's where the suffering begins. But if you learn to let go, to free yourself from these attachments, you will experience something far more powerful: inner peace. Letting go is an act of self-respect. When you stop begging for approval, you stop devaluing yourself. When you stop clinging to the need for constant reassurance, you stop seeing yourself as weak or incomplete. You begin to realize that you are enough, just as you are. The more you let go, the more you respect your own boundaries, your own values, your own worth. When you let go of the need for external validation, you can stand tall, grounded in your own truth. There's a sense of strength that comes from within, a quiet power that doesn't depend on the approval of others. It's a deep understanding that you don't need anyone's permission to be yourself. You don't need anyone's approval to feel worthy or loved. Buddha taught that attachment is the cause of suffering, but detachment brings liberation. This doesn't mean you stop caring for others or stop loving them or stop building relationships. It simply means you no longer depend on others to define your sense of self. You love, you give, and you share, but you do so freely, without the expectation of receiving anything in return. This is the path of true freedom. Think about the people you admire the most. Are they the ones who constantly beg for attention, or are they the ones who walk through life with confidence, not needing to prove anything to anyone? The people who radiate peace are often the ones who have learned to let go of the need for constant validation. They understand that their worth doesn't depend on others' opinions. They stand strong because they have detached themselves from the expectation that others must acknowledge them. In your own life, you might feel that you need to constantly prove your worth. Maybe you feel invisible at times, like no one notices your efforts, your kindness, or your talents. But let me tell you something important. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. The moment you release the need to be seen or acknowledged by others is the moment you start to see yourself more clearly. You start to appreciate your own efforts, your own journey. You become your own source of validation, and this is where true self-respect begins. Letting go also frees you from the constant stress of pleasing others. When you stop begging for approval, you no longer live in fear of rejection or criticism. You live with the understanding that you can't control what others think or do, but you can control how you respond. And that response can be grounded in peace because you no longer seek validation from outside yourself. Take a moment now and ask yourself, what are you holding on to? What expectations are you clinging to that are causing you stress, frustration, or even resentment? Is it the desire for someone to notice your efforts? Is it the hope that someone will love you in the way you want to be loved? Is it the fear that if you stop trying so hard, you'll lose something important? Whatever it is, know that the moment you let go, you free yourself. You stop begging for something that is not truly yours to control. And in doing so, you invite a deep sense of respect into your life. You respect yourself enough to stop chasing after something that doesn't bring you peace. You respect yourself enough to walk away from relationships or situations that drain your energy. You respect yourself enough to live with integrity, without needing anyone else to validate your worth. This is the power of detachment. It is not about giving up on life or running away from your responsibilities. It is about finding balance. It is about standing strong in your own center, free from the chains of expectations and attachment. It's about understanding that you are whole, regardless of what happens outside you. And when you live from this place of inner peace, you will find that respect from others naturally follows. They will respect your strength, your wisdom, and your ability to live with authenticity. So let go. Let go of the need to beg for anything. Let go of the desire to please everyone. Let go of the expectation that others must see you the way you want to be seen. And in doing so, you will find the true freedom that comes from being yourself, completely and unapologetically. This is the path to living with dignity, respect, and peace. Transforming your life. Practical Buddhist lessons for never begging again. Have you ever paused to ask yourself, what if everything I've been seeking outside of me was already inside? The world we live in is constantly pushing us to look for approval, love, success, and validation from others. We're taught to chase after things and people as though they hold the key to our happiness, our peace, and our sense of worth. But deep within, we know something is off. It doesn't take long before we realize that the more we chase, the more we feel empty. So what's the solution? How do we stop begging for validation, for attention, and for approval? Buddhism offers us a quiet, yet profound answer. Everything you need is already within you. This might sound simple, but when we truly understand it, it changes everything. The first lesson is to embrace the present moment. Most of us are either caught up in the past, regretting decisions, or anxiously awaiting the future, hoping things will finally fall into place. But the truth is, the only moment that truly exists is this one. And when we live fully in this moment, we stop yearning for something else. Imagine you're standing in front of a mirror. You've been told for years that your reflection isn't good enough. Your body, your face, your actions, none of them are right. But what if, just for a moment, you stopped listening to those judgments? What if you just looked into that mirror and saw yourself as you truly are, without the need for someone else to validate your worth? In that stillness, you would find peace. That's the first step, to see your own worth without needing anyone else to acknowledge it. This is what Buddha teaches us through the practice of mindfulness. Mindfulness is the art of being present with our own thoughts, feelings, and sensations without judgment. By doing so, we stop the cycle of seeking outside ourselves for approval. We stop begging for someone else's recognition because we have recognized our own value. The next lesson is about letting go. The attachment we have to people, things, and outcomes is what keeps us locked in the cycle of begging. Think about a time when you wanted something so badly. Maybe it was a job, a relationship, or even something material. You focused all your energy on getting it. You thought that once you had it, everything would fall into place, that your life would finally have meaning. But once you got what you desired, did it bring you lasting peace? Or did the satisfaction fade away quickly, only to be replaced by another longing? This is the nature of desire. It's insatiable. The more we cling to things and people, the more we want, and the more we suffer. Buddha teaches us that attachment is the root of all suffering. So how do we let go? It begins with accepting that nothing in life is permanent. This is called impermanence, one of the core teachings of Buddhism. Everything changes. People come and go. Situations shift. The material things we hold dear will eventually break, wear out, or fade away. Once we accept this truth, we realize that clinging to anything is like holding sand in our hands. No matter how tight we grip, it slips through our fingers. Letting go doesn't mean we don't care or that we give up. It means we free ourselves from the need to control everything, to make things happen according to our own desires. Instead, we practice acceptance and trust in the flow of life. We surrender the need to beg for anything and trust that life will provide what we need at the right time. When we let go of our attachments, we free ourselves to experience life as it truly is, without expectations, without demands, and without the constant feeling of wanting more. The next lesson Buddhism offers is the power of self-compassion. Often, when we feel the need to beg for something, whether it's love, approval, or help from others, it's because we don't believe we deserve it. We think we are not enough, that we need someone else to fill the gaps inside us. But Buddha reminds us that we are already complete. Every person is worthy of love, respect, and kindness, including ourselves. Self-compassion is about treating yourself with the same love and understanding that you offer to others. When you stop judging yourself, when you stop demanding perfection, you begin to see yourself in a new light. You recognize that you are already whole. This shift in perspective is powerful because when you no longer seek validation from others, you no longer need to beg for it. You give yourself the love and respect you deserve, and that energy naturally attracts respect from others as well. One of the most profound aspects of Buddhist teachings is the practice of generosity. This is the antidote to begging. Instead of asking for things, you start giving. And it doesn't have to be material wealth. Generosity can be as simple as offering a smile, a kind word, or your time. When you give freely without expecting anything in return, you cultivate a sense of inner abundance. You realize that you have everything you need within you to be happy, and that your worth isn't dependent on receiving anything from others. When you become a source of generosity, you stop feeling the need to beg because you know that abundance is not something you lack. It's something you can share. And as you share, your life fills with meaning and fulfillment. The act of giving, whether it's love, compassion, or resources, creates a flow that enriches both you and the people around you. Buddhism also teaches us about the importance of patience. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that if we beg for something, we can get it faster. But the truth is, nothing worth having comes quickly. Everything takes time to grow.